I've decided that in order to answer questions by restating the question when we write a sentence, we're going to use the book Freckle Juice. Did anybody ever read that book? It's a pretty good one. Look at all the things on the front that he has there. Mayonnaise, olives, vinegar, salt, hot mustard. There's ketchup in his hand. He looks like it doesn't smell very good, right? So let's see what we got. Andrew Marcus wanted freckles. Nicky Lane had freckles. He had about 1 million of them. They covered his face, his ears, and the back of his neck. Andrew didn't have any freckles. He had 2 warts on his finger, but they didn't do him any good at all. If he had freckles like Nicky, his mother would never know if his neck was dirty, so he wouldn't have to wash, and then he'd never be late for school. Andrew had plenty of time to look at Nicky's freckles. He sat right behind him in class. Once he even tried to count them. But when he got to 86, Miss Kelly called, "Andrew, are you paying attention?" "Yes, Miss Kelly," Andrew called. "Good, Andrew. I'm glad to hear that. Now will you please pick up your chair and join your reading group? We're all waiting for you." Andrew stood up in a hurry. His reading group giggled, especially Sharon. He couldn't stand that Sharon. She thought she knew everything. He picked up his chair and carried it to the corner where his reading group sat. "You may begin, Andrew," Miss Kelly said. "Page 64. Andrew turned the pages in his book. 64, 64. He couldn't find it. The pages stuck together. Why did Miss Kelly have to pick him? Everybody else already had their books open to the right page. Sharon, she kept giggling. She covered her mouth to keep the noise in, but Andrew knew what was going on. He finally found page 64, right where it was supposed to be. If he had his own freckles, he wouldn't have to count Nicky Lane's. Then he'd hear Miss Kelly when she called reading groups, and nobody would laugh at him. Later, when the bell rang, Andrew poked Nicky Lane. "What do you want?" Nicky asked, turning around. "I was wondering about your freckles," Andrew said. "Oh yeah? What about them?" Andrew felt pretty stupid. "Well, how did you get them?" "What do you mean, how? You get born with them, that's how." Andrew thought that's what Nicky would say. Some help he was. "Line up, boys and girls," Miss Kelly said. "Time to go home now. Sharon, you may lead the girls. Andrew, you may lead the boys." Some luck. Just when he got to be leader, he had to stand next to Sharon. When they were in line, Sharon whispered to Andrew, "Psst, I know how to get them." "How to get what?" Andrew asked. "Freckles," Sharon said. "Who asked you?" "I heard you ask Nicky about his." Sharon ran her tongue along her teeth. She was always doing that. "Do you want to know how to get them?" Sharon asked. "Maybe," Andrew told her. "It'll cost you 50 cents. I have a secret recipe for freckle juice," Sharon whispered. A secret recipe, huh? Sharon's tongue reminded Andrew of a frog catching flies. He wondered if Sharon ever got a mouthful of bugs, the way she opened her mouth and wiggled her tongue around. Andrew inspected Sharon's face. "You don't even have freckles," he said. "Look close," Sharon said. "I've got 6 on my nose." "Big deal. A lot of good 6'll do." "You can get as many as you want. 6 was enough for me. It all depended on how much freckle juice you drink." Andrew didn't believe Sharon for a minute. Not 1 minute. There was no such thing as freckle juice. Andrew had never heard of it before. So now I'm going to ask you some questions. I have them written down on my paper here. And we're going to answer them, but we're going to restate the question. Remember how we did that? So the first question is, what does Andrew want? Well, we have to restate the question. We want to know, what does Andrew want? The answer? freckles, but it has to be in a sentence. So we need to take Andrew wants, and we have to add an S. So Andrew wants freckles. That's what he wants, right? He wants to have some freckles. Why does he want this? So we need to take this. He wants this. He wants this because... Anyone remember? Anybody remember why he wants freckles? Huh? He wants this because then his mom couldn't tell if he was dirty or not. That's a silly reason for wanting freckles, isn't it? Okay, so you don't have to write those two down. If you did, that's great, but don't worry about it. These next three are the ones that I want you to write down. You don't have to write the question, though. You just have to write the sentence. So, who did Andrew have to stand beside in line? Do you remember? Her name was Sharon. Andrew, we have to change this to had, to stand beside. Andrew had to stand beside Sharon. He didn't really like that, did he? He did not want to stand beside her. And why did Andrew not like Sharon? Do you remember? Why didn't he like her? Andrew, and we're going to take this word and this one and make a contraction. Anybody know what that is? Andrew didn't. We take did and not and make didn't like Sharon because she thought she knew everything. That's why he didn't like her. Nobody likes somebody who thinks they know everything. That's being a bossy know-it-all, right? No one likes that. So, the next one, the last question, this one's on your own. Are you ready? What does Sharon tell Andrew he can have for 50 cents? So we have to take some words, switch them around in the sentence, and write down the answer. What does Sharon tell Andrew he can have for 50 cents? Anybody know what the first word's supposed to be? I'll give you a hint. This is going to be the first word, Sharon. Okay? So you write me this sentence, email it back. Chapter 2 will be tomorrow.